Harold Finch built Millbridge Accounting from the ground up, earning the town's trust for over a decade. David, a junior accountant with a spotless record, and Lisa, a former employee who disappeared months before the crime, were just two names, tangled in the web of the greatest financial heist Millbridge had ever seen. When millions vanished overnight and Harold himself disappeared without a trace, the question that gripped everyone was simple and chilling. Who robbed the firm and vanished without a trace? In the small, quiet town of Millbridge, life moved at a steady, predictable pace. Nestled among modest shops and cozy homes was Millbridge Accounting, a firm that had built a solid reputation over more than 10 years. The office, located in a modest brick building on Main Street, was a hub of activity during business hours. Inside, a team of dedicated employees worked diligently, managing the finances of local businesses, non-profits, and families. The firm was known not only for its accuracy and professionalism, but also for the trust it inspired within the community. Clients often recommended the firm to others, and the owner, Harold Finch, was considered a pillar of the local business world. Harold was a man in his mid-50s, well-dressed and well-spoken, known for his sharp mind and friendly demeanor. He had started the firm from scratch years ago and nurtured it through ups and downs. Under his leadership, the company grew steadily, and Millbridge Accounting became one of the town's most respected institutions. The employees, from junior accountants to senior partners, took pride in their work. They were a close-knit group, sharing both the stresses and successes of the busy financial season. In many ways, the firm felt more like a family than just a workplace. On a bright Wednesday afternoon, the office hummed with routine activity. The team was busy preparing for the upcoming quarterly audits. Spreadsheets were being analyzed, reports finalized, and phone calls made to clients. Everything seemed perfectly normal. The staff moved between desks and offices, some focused on the glow of their computer screens, others discussing figures quietly. The atmosphere was one of concentration, mixed with the occasional friendly laughter. No one at the firm had any idea that the calm day was the last before a storm. Behind the scenes, unknown to the staff and clients alike, a plan was already in motion. A plan so carefully crafted that it promised to upend everything they knew about Millbridge Accounting. No warnings, no signs of trouble had appeared. Everything seemed safe, secure, and stable. The community trusted the firm implicitly. For years, business owners and families alike had turned over their financial information to Millbridge Accounting, confident that their money was in good hands. The firm's impeccable record and Harold Finch's respected status only strengthened that belief. Many clients felt secure enough to share personal details, believing the firm would protect them from mistakes or fraud. But beneath the surface, something was changing. Subtle cracks began to form, though they were invisible to those around. There were small discrepancies here and there in the records, but they were brushed off as clerical errors or simple oversight. A few late nights logged by employees hinted at extra work, but the reasons were never clear. In truth, these were the first whispers of the chaos that would soon explode into full view. As the sun set over Millbridge that Wednesday, the office lights dimmed and employees packed up for the day. No one could have predicted that within 24 hours, the firm they had trusted for years would be at the center of a shocking crime. The calm before the storm was ending, and soon the town would be left asking questions that had no easy answers. The firm that had been a symbol of security and honesty was about to become a mystery that would haunt Millbridge for years to come. The morning after the busy Wednesday had passed, the town of Millbridge woke up to an unexpected shock. When the employees arrived at Millbridge Accounting's office early that Thursday, they found the place in disarray. The front door was unlocked, but there were no signs of forced entry or broken windows. Inside, the normally tidy desks were cluttered with scattered papers and overturned chairs. Computers had been wiped clean, their hard drives erased. It was clear something was terribly wrong. Panic quickly set in among the staff as they realized that millions of dollars were missing. The firm's digital accounts had been drained through a series of perfectly timed electronic transfers, siphoning away over $2 million overnight. How could this happen without anyone noticing? How could a thief breach such tight security without triggering any alarms or cameras? The questions multiplied as the gravity of the crime became clear. Investigators were called to the scene immediately, and they faced a baffling mystery. The office showed no signs of forced entry, no fingerprints were found, and the security cameras had inexplicably stopped recording hours before the theft. This suggested the thief had inside knowledge, someone familiar with the firm's routines, security systems, and digital safeguards. The investigation began with the people closest to the firm. Employees were questioned, their routines and recent behavior scrutinized. The team was cooperative but visibly shaken. Among them, one person stood out: David, a junior accountant who had been recently reprimanded for mishandling important documents. He became the first suspect. However, David had a strong alibi. On the night of the theft, he was attending a family gathering confirmed by multiple witnesses. Next, suspicion shifted to Lisa, a former employee who had been fired under unclear circumstances just months before the robbery. Lisa had left Millbridge soon after losing her job, and travel records confirmed she was out of town the day the crime occurred. She denied any involvement when contacted, but her sudden departure raised questions. As the investigation dragged on, detectives realized they were chasing shadows. The stolen money had disappeared into a complex network of offshore accounts, disguised to avoid detection. This wasn't the work of a lone thief. It suggested a larger scheme involving experts in money laundering and financial fraud. The deeper detectives dug, the more they uncovered about the firm's secrets. It became apparent that the theft was not just about stealing money. It was about covering tracks, erasing evidence, and possibly destroying a deeper web of corruption hidden inside the firm. The robbery had been executed with precision, but the motives remained unclear. Outside the office, the community was stunned. Business owners and residents who had trusted Millbridge Accounting struggled to understand how such a betrayal could happen. Rumors began to swirl about possible inside jobs, hidden enemies, and secret deals gone wrong. Some clients pulled their accounts, fearful their own money was at risk. The pressure mounted on the investigators. Every lead seemed to dead end. Every suspect had a solid defense, and the missing money seemed to vanish into thin air. It became clear this was no ordinary robbery, but a carefully orchestrated crime that went beyond the walls of Millbridge Accounting. As days turned into weeks, the firm's reputation crumbled. Employees grew anxious, and some quietly left. The once thriving office became a symbol of mistrust and suspicion. Behind the scenes, law enforcement intensified their search, determined to unravel the mystery and bring those responsible to justice. But the thief had planned well, leaving no footprints, no clear trail. The firm had been robbed, but the real question lingered. Who could execute such a flawless crime and disappear without a trace? As the investigation into the Millbridge Accounting robbery deepened, detectives faced an increasingly complex puzzle. The stolen funds, rather than disappearing into a simple bank account, had been funneled through a sophisticated web of offshore accounts and shell companies. Each transfer was carefully disguised, hopping from one account to another across different countries, making the money almost impossible to trace. This level of complexity suggested the involvement of people with expert knowledge of international finance and money laundering. The detectives worked tirelessly to follow the trail, connecting the dots between various transactions and identifying the companies and individuals linked to the stolen funds. What they found shocked them. Some of the largest clients of Millbridge Accounting, businesses and influential figures in Millbridge and beyond, were entangled in this web. This raised unsettling questions about whether these clients were innocent victims or complicit in the crime. One particularly troubling discovery was that several of these clients had financial dealings that would benefit if the firm collapsed. Some had outstanding debts and were under pressure to find ways to shield their assets. It appeared that the robbery was not just a random act of theft, but part of a calculated plan to destabilize the firm, possibly for personal gain. This deepened the mystery. Was the crime an inside job, orchestrated with the help of clients who stood to profit? The investigators began to suspect a conspiracy that extended beyond the firm's walls. The links between the stolen money and certain offshore entities suggested that this was more than a local crime. It involved international players and perhaps even criminal networks specializing in financial fraud. Each new lead introduced more complexity and more questions. The tangled network was like a spider's web, intricate and designed to trap anyone who tried to unravel it. As news of these discoveries spread, the community's confidence in Millbridge Accounting eroded further. Clients who once trusted the firm to protect their finances started to worry that their own money might be involved or at risk. Some demanded immediate withdrawals, while others sought alternative firms to handle their accounts. The firm's image was rapidly deteriorating, and the pressure on Harold Finch and his team grew immense. Meanwhile, the employees inside the firm were caught in the middle of this storm. Many were confused and fearful. They had believed in the integrity of their workplace, but now they questioned whether they had been unwitting participants in something much darker. Rumors circulated about who might be involved and who could be trusted. Morale dropped, and the office that had once felt like a family became a place of suspicion and fear. The detectives also uncovered signs that the firm's internal records had been tampered with. Important documents had been altered or destroyed, complicating the investigation and suggesting a cover-up. It became clear that whoever was behind the robbery had gone to great lengths not only to steal money, but to erase any evidence that could point to their identity or motives. Despite the setbacks, the investigators pressed on, determined to peel back each layer of deception. They knew that exposing the full extent of the conspiracy would require patience and persistence. The case was no longer just about stolen money. It was about uncovering the truth hidden beneath years of lies and corruption. As the mystery deepened, the question remained: who was truly pulling the strings? Was it the firm's owner, one of the clients, or someone else entirely? The answers seemed buried deep within a web of financial deceit, and the town of Millbridge was left to wonder if justice would ever be served. The investigation took a dramatic turn when an anonymous tip arrived at the police station, pointing to a hidden storage locker on the outskirts of Millbridge. The detectives moved quickly, sensing this could be the breakthrough they desperately needed. Inside the dimly lit locker, among boxes and dusty files, they uncovered something far more significant than they had expected. Volumes of documents, revealing a dark secret about Harold Finch, the firm's owner. The files showed that Harold was not just a respected businessman, but also deeply involved in fraudulent activities that spanned years. He had been manipulating the firm's accounts, falsifying records, and embezzling large sums of money. The documents contained detailed ledgers, forged contracts, and correspondence with offshore banks. It became clear that the robbery was not just a theft by an outsider. It was part of a calculated scheme to cover up his crimes. The scale of Harold's deception was staggering. He had been laundering money through the firm, using it as a front to hide illegal gains and protect himself from detection. The stolen millions were part of a broader effort to erase evidence and disappear before the inevitable collapse of his carefully constructed empire. It was a masterstroke of criminal planning: stage a high-profile robbery, blame it on an unknown thief, and vanish before anyone could uncover the truth. Despite the mounting evidence, Harold Finch was nowhere to be found. It was as if he had slipped through the cracks of the investigation entirely. Police searches turned up no clues to his whereabouts, no digital footprint, no travel records, no sightings. His phone was disconnected, and all his known associates claimed no knowledge of his plans or location. The more the detectives searched, the more it seemed he had vanished into thin air. This disappearance added a chilling layer of mystery. Had Harold staged the robbery himself and fled with the money? Or was there someone else involved, perhaps a trusted accomplice, who helped him orchestrate the entire scheme? The idea that a man once trusted by the entire town could pull off such a brazen crime and then vanish without a trace sent shockwaves through Millbridge. The community's reaction was one of betrayal and disbelief. Many felt foolish for trusting Harold and the firm. The scandal shattered the firm's reputation and left clients scrambling to protect their own finances. Some wondered how such deep corruption had gone unnoticed for so long, while others feared that more secrets were still hidden beneath the surface. Inside law enforcement, frustration grew. The case was no longer just about stolen money. It was a race against time to catch a criminal who seemed to have vanished entirely. Officers pored over every detail of the evidence, re-examining clues that might have been overlooked. They reached out to international agencies, hoping to track Harold across borders. But every lead fizzled out. The discovery of Harold Finch's dark secret and his sudden disappearance turned the case into a haunting mystery. The man who once symbolized stability and trust had become the key suspect in one of the most audacious crimes the town had ever seen. But despite all the proof and effort, the question remained: was Harold Finch the mastermind who disappeared with the stolen fortune, or was there a hidden player manipulating everything from the shadows? The answers seemed locked away, just out of reach. And while the investigation continued, the town of Millbridge was left to grapple with a new reality, one where the truth was buried deep beneath lies, and justice was still nowhere in sight. Months passed, and the search for Harold Finch and the missing millions grew colder with each day. Despite every effort, the trail seemed to vanish completely, leaving law enforcement and the community alike in a state of frustrated uncertainty. The firm that once stood as a pillar of the town had crumbled, and its owner had become a ghost, vanished, without a trace, taking answers and accountability with him. The investigation turned into a maze of dead ends. Surveillance footage was scarce, and electronic records provided no breakthrough. Interpol and international financial watchdogs were called in to track the offshore accounts, but the money was hidden behind layers of shell companies and encrypted transactions. It was as if the theft had been meticulously planned, not just to rob the firm, but to disappear entirely into the financial ether. Locals in Millbridge watched the story unfold with a mix of disbelief and anger. The firm had been more than just a business. It had been a trusted part of the community's fabric. Families had relied on it for their savings, and businesses depended on its steady guidance. Now, the betrayal felt personal. Clients who once recommended Millbridge accounting to friends quietly removed their money and vowed never to trust the firm or anyone connected to it again. The employees, too, were left reeling. Some left the firm, unable to work under the shadow of scandal. Others stayed, hoping to help salvage what was left, but the damage was irreversible. The once tight-knit team became fractured by suspicion and fear. The office space, once filled with quiet industry and camaraderie, now stood empty, a physical reminder of the fall from grace. Speculation ran rampant about Harold Finch's fate. Some believed he had escaped the country, starting a new life somewhere far away, enjoying the stolen fortune in secret. Others whispered darker theories, that he might have been silenced or worse, erased by those who helped him orchestrate the scheme. No evidence ever surfaced to confirm any of these theories, leaving them trapped in the realm of rumor. Detectives continued to review the case files, hoping for a new lead, a slip in the carefully constructed narrative, or a break in the financial trail. Every so often, a promising tip would spark renewed interest, only to fizzle out. The case remained officially open, but with no suspect in custody and no recovered funds, it had all the marks of a cold case destined to haunt the town indefinitely. That once true crime story of the firm's robbery became a cautionary tale shared in hushed conversations. It was a story about trust broken, the fragility of reputations, and the shadowy world of white-collar crime. The mystery of who robbed the firm and vanished without a trace became part of Millbridge's collective memory, a puzzle that may never be solved. Yet, beneath the surface, some held on to hope. They believed that one day the truth would emerge, that technology would catch up, a whistleblower would come forward, or a forgotten clue would resurface. Until then, the town lived with the uneasy knowledge that the thief remained free, the money lost, and justice unserved. The firm was gone, but the mystery it left behind continued to linger, a haunting question mark in Millbridge's history.